In this lesson, we are going to learn how to determine the point-slope form, which is a type of equation that we've been learning about recently, which has the equation y take away y1 equals to the slope, and then brackets, x take away x1. But in this lesson, we're going to learn how to do it when they give you a graph. So what we would do is you would need to find 2 points. So 2 points that are easy to read off. So that would be a nice easy point to read off because it's got an x value of 0 and a y value of -4. And then this point over here would have an x value of 4 and a y value of -2, hey? -2. So from those 2 points, you could then go work out the slope. Because remember, slope is equal to y2 take away y1 over x2 take away x1. So you can choose whatever you like, but I'm going to choose this as point number 2, and I'm going to choose this as point number 1. So the y value of point number 2 would be this one. The y value of point number 1 would be this over here. Then there's the x value of point number 2, which is this one. And then the x value of point number 1, which is there. And so now we can just go fill that in as -2 take away -4. So there's 2 negatives there, which is absolutely fine. And then 4 take away 0. Go ahead, type that all in on the calculator, and you should get a half. So that is now our slope. So I'm going to write up here. So we're going to say y minus y1 equals to a half, and then x take away x1. So now what we need to do is we need to go fill in the y1 and x1. So to keep things easy, I'm just going to choose point number 1, because that makes more sense. So the y value of point number 1, which we could say that one, would go over there. And then the x value of point number 1 would go over there. And so I'm just going to go fill everything in. So we're going to say y take away. Now this point here is a -4, so we're just going to fill that in like that. Let's actually try to find a better space to write this. Sorry about this. So let's go here. So we're going to say y take away, and then -4, and then equals to the slope, which is a half, and then it's going to be x take away 0. Okay, so now when this happens, we know, or let's first go fix this. The 2 negatives make a positive, so we're going to say y plus 4 equals to a half. Now, x take away 0, that's just x, right? Because if you take away 0, that doesn't really do anything. So this actually just becomes x. But now, you don't have to just leave it as a bracket by itself like that. So whenever this happens, you can actually just leave the answer without the bracket like that. Okay, and so now we're just going to do some more examples just to make sure that you understand how we did this. So here they want us to determine the point-slope form. So let's go write out the point-slope form equation again. And so we need to find the slope. So to do that, we find 2 points. So there's a nice point that we can read off, and there's another point that we can read off. So this one's coordinates would be, has an x value of 3, and a y value of 3 as well. And then this one has an x value of 0 and a y value of -4. So if we then had to go use our slope equation, which we should know quite well by now, which is that over there, then we can say the y value of point number 2. Oh, I haven't chosen point 2 and point 1. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, but let's say that this is point 2 and this is point 1. Then we could say the y value of point number 2, which is this one over here. And then we've got minus the y value of point number 1, which is this one over here. And then we have the x value of point number 2, which is this one over here. And then x value of point number 1, which is this one over here. And so now if we just have to go fill everything in, we're going to end up with 3 take away -4 over 3 take away 0. And if you had to go work that out, you end up with a slope of 7 over 3. So now we can go fill that into our equation as 7 over 3, x take away x1. And so what we can now do is go fill in point number 1. So, because that's what we need for over here and over here. So we'll take the x value of point number 1, and that's going to be filled in over there. And then the y value of point number 1, which would be that one over there. And so we're going to say y take away negative 4 equals to 7 over 3, and then x take away 0. And so now what I'm going to do is we're just going to simplify it over here. So that's going to become y plus 4 equals to 7 over 3. Now remember, as we saw in the previous example, if it's x take away 0, then that's just x. So you just take away the brackets and you just leave it like that. And so that would be the final answer in point-slope form. Let's do another example. So here is example number 2. So once again, we're going to do it in point-slope form. So you just write it out like this. Okay, and so we need to go get our slope. So to get our slope, we're going to use this equation. And so to do that, you would need 2 different points. So for example, you need to find 2 good points. So here's a first point over there, and then we could use this point over here. So we would have to get the coordinates of them. So the x value would be a 0, and the y value would be a 5. And then for this next one, the x value would be a 1, and the y value would be a 0. And it doesn't really matter, but I think I'll choose this as point number 2, and then this can be point number 1. And so the y value of point number 2 would be this one. And then the y value of point number 1 would be this one over here. And then the x value of point number 2 would be this one. And then the x value of point number 1 would be that over there. So then we can go work out the slope. So that would be 5 take away 0 over 0 take away 1. And if you had to work that out, we should get negative 5 as our slope. So now we can just go fill that in. Negative 5. Now we need to go fill in a point into the equation. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose, as I've said before. But just to stick with our formatting where we chose this one as point number 1, then I'll just use that one over there. So that means that this 0 would go over here. And then this 1 would go over there. And so you end up with y take away 0 equals to negative 5, and then in brackets x take away 1. Now over here you have y take away 0, which is just y. So you could rewrite the final answer as just y on the left equals to negative 5, and then in brackets x take away 1.